Why use 2 or 3 key commands to accomplish a task in Logic Pro when you can do the same thing with a single key command? Today on Logic Band, we're going to talk about some key commands that can greatly increase the efficiency of your editing when working with regions in Logic Pro. I'm the Oreo Monster, and my goal is to help blind musicians and producers become keyboard ninjas and use Logic like a pro. So let's get into today's tutorial. We have a project here with each of the main track types that we normally work with in Logic available to us. We have a software instrument track, an audio track, and representing the session players, we have a drummer track. So the first thing we're going to discuss is splitting and deleting. Let's say we have this piano track here and it ends at
9 bars,
bar 9 and starts at
1 bar.
bar 1. Let's say that we messed up when we were recording this and the first 4 bars are good, but the second 4 bars are not good. And we just want to end the region at bar 5. And then we can copy and paste the region that we have from bar 1 to bar 5 at bar 5. So we'll have the same stuff going from bar 5 to bar 9. So normally you move your playhead to bar 5.
2 bar, 3, 4, 5 bars.
And then you do Command T to split.
Split regions events at playhead position.
And then you hit the delete
Selection
key.
deleted.
And now you end up with a region
1 bar.
that starts at bar 1.
5 bars.
And ends at bar 5. But let's say there's a faster way to do that.
Undo, undo. 9 bars, 1 bar.
Once again, we're going to move our playhead to bar 5.
2 bar, 3, 4, 5 bars.
And this time, we're just going to trim the region to end at bar 5. Now, the key command to trim the end of the region to the playhead is Command-Shift right bracket. So I'm just going to do Command-Shift right bracket. And now, if I do Control-Home
1 bar.
and Control-N,
5 bars.
You see that we have a region that starts at bar 1 and ends at bar 5. But I did that in 1 key command instead of 2. So trimming the start or end of the region to the playhead is going to be faster than splitting and deleting. And I'll show you that again in another example.
Track 1 Studio Grand. Undo.
So we're back to having a region that starts at
1 bar.
bar 1 and ends at
9 bars.
bar 9. We have our 8-bar region. Now this time, let's say we have the opposite scenario where we messed up the first 4 bars, but the second of the 4 bars are good. So bars 5 to 9 is a good performance, but we kind of messed up in bars 1 through 5. So we can keep what came from bar 5 through 9, and then we can copy and paste that back at bar 1, and we'll have our 8 bars just with a repeat of the good stuff that we recorded from bar 5 to bar 9. So in this scenario, we're going to once again move our playhead to bar 5.
8, 7, 6, 5 bars.
So normally at bar 5, we do Command T to split.
Split regions events at
And
playhead
then
position.
you tap the left arrow
1 bar.
once to select the region that starts at
5
1
bars.
and ends at bar 5. And then you would
Selection deleted.
hit the backspace to delete that. And then you'll end up with the region
9 bars.
that ends at bar 9
5 bars.
and starts at bar 5. Now, in that same case, we're going
Studio
to
Grand.
undo
Channel
that.
strip groove. Undo, undo. 9 bars. 1 bar.
And
2, 3, 4, 5 bars.
And same deal, we'll move our playhead back to bar 5. We'll press Command-Shift left bracket this time to trim the start of the region to the playhead. So remember, playhead's at bar 5, Command-Shift left bracket, and now we have a region that ends at bar
9 bars.
9 and
5
starts
bars.
at bar 5. So that is the same thing. We just use 1 key command instead of 3 key commands this time when we use the Command-Shift left bracket to trim the start of the region. Once again, Command-Shift left bracket lets you trim the start of the region to where the playhead is. Command-Shift right bracket lets you trim the end of the region to where the playhead is. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about is moving regions. Now, we have this region at bar 5, right? It starts at bar 5, ends at bar 9. But what if we want to move it over to start at bar 1? Normally, you'd think you'd have to cut this region with Command X.
Selection deleted. Cut.
Move your playhead to bar 1.
4 bars. 3 bar. 2 bar. 1 bar.
And then use Command V to paste.
Paste.
And you'll end up with the region that starts at bar 1.
1 bar.
And ends
5 bars.
at bar 5, right? But there is also a faster way to do that. So I'm going to undo that.
Undo.
We have our region back at bar 5.
9 bars.
Ends at bar 9.
5 bars.
Starts at bar 5. Now, a quick way to move a region, once you have it selected, is to use the semicolon. So if I hit return to go to the start of the project, and then I hit the semicolon, my region now starts
5 bars. 1 bar.
at bar 5. My region now
5
ends.
bars. 1 bar.
My region now ends at bar 5.
5 bars.
And starts
1 bar.
at bar 1. So semicolon will let you move the region. I can do the same thing again. Let's say I go to, say, bar 9.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bars. 9 bars.
and hit semicolon, and now the region will end at bar
13 bars.
and start at
9 bars.
bar 9. So you can move regions around like that. Once again, if I want this at the beginning, I just hit return to go to beginning and hit the semicolon, and now the region is ending at bar 5
1 bar.
and starting at bar 1. So the semicolon is going to be a fast way to move regions around. It's going to be faster than doing Command X to cut and Command V to paste. You can just press one key command, and that's the semicolon. So next, we're going to talk about doubling or repeating our regions. So right now, we have this region that starts at bar 1 and ends at bar 5. Now, in the scenario we've been discussing, this is your good take. So you need 8 bars of this good take and not 4 bars. So one thing we can do is double the region. And the way you double the region length is with Command Control L. So Command Control L, if I press that, you'll see this region now ends at bar 9
bars.
And starts
1 bar
at bar 1. So I just doubled the length of the region by pressing Command Control L. So instead of copying and pasting a region, we can use Command Control L to double the length of the region. Now, just to show you that this also works on audio tracks, let's go down to the space track here.
Bass.
And what I'm going to do is move my playhead to
channel
bar
strip
5.
Group, 2 bar, 3 bar, 4 bars, 5 bars.
If I do Command Shift right bracket,
Selection deleted.
it's going to trim that region to
1
start
bar.
at bar 1 and end
5 bars.
at bar 5. Now, another option you have, let's say this is a good take from bar 1 to bar 5, and I need 8 bars of this again. I can copy this region with Command C and paste it at bar 5 to get my second double, as we talked about earlier. But instead of doing that, this time I'm just going to press Command R to repeat the region. So I just press Command R, and now I have a second copy of that region that ends
9 bars.
at bar 9,
5 bars,
and starts at bar 5. If I hit the
1 bar.
If I hit the left arrow once, you see I have the region from bar 1
5 bars.
that ends at bar 5. So I have 2 regions on this track, one region from bar 1 to bar 5, and a second region from bar 5 to bar 9. Now, what I want to show you is the difference between using Command R to repeat the region versus using Command Control L to double the region. So let's go back up to this piano track.
Track 1 Studio Grand.
And this region ends
9 bars.
at bar 9,
1 bar.
starts at bar 1, right? Now, if I press my right arrow twice to select the first region on the track, you'll see the region still ends
9 bars.
at bar 9,
1 bar.
and starts at bar 1. If I press the
No
right
selection.
arrow once, no selection, press it again, and I have the region that ends
9 bars.
at bar 9,
1 bar.
starts at bar 1, selected again. So there's only one region on this track. Whereas if I go down to the bass track,
Track 2 bass.
this is the one I use Command R to repeat on. This has 2 regions on it. So if I tap the right arrow twice to select the first region on the track, and you'll see this region
1 bar.
starts at bar 1,
5 bars.
and ends at bar 5, right? If I tap the right arrow again, I move over to the second region that
9 bars.
ends at bar 9,
5 bars.
starts at bar 5. So that's the one thing to keep in mind. The difference between pressing Command R to repeat a region versus using Command Control L to double the region is when you press Command Control L to double a region, it stays as one long region, versus when you press Command R to repeat a region, you'll end up with 2 separate regions on your track. So that's something to keep in mind depending on what you're doing. Either way, both of those workflows save you from having to press Command C to copy and then Command V to paste. And really, they're saving you 3 key commands because you have to press Command C to copy, move the playhead to the end of the region that you're at, and then Command V to paste. So if you can just press Command Control L or Command R, you're going to save yourself a couple key commands there, and that's going to speed up the process when you're editing. So I'm going to go down to the drummer track.
Track 3 4 on the floor.
And you'll see that a lot of the same things will happen. Now, something to keep in mind is that drummer tracks, or really session player tracks in general, are dynamic. That means wherever they end, they're going to automatically put a fill in. So by changing the length of a session player track, you're going to alter the performance that is given you by default, right? So that is something to keep in mind there. Now, one other thing to be aware with session player tracks is if you extend the length past where they were originally, you're not going to get any data in that new part of the track. So you're going to have to refresh the region first. So on this drummer track, I'm going to go ahead and play this project here. All right, so that's what we got, and I just played it past bar 5. So you see this drummer region
9 bars.
ends at bar 9.
1 bar.
And starts at bar 1. Now, same deal. If I go to bar 5
2 bar, 3, 4, 5 bars.
and do Command Shift right bracket, trim that region to end there, because let's say I only need a 4-bar drummer region.
1 bar.
Starts at bar 1,
5 bars.
ends at bar 5.
1 bar.
So we got that covered. And if I play this, you'll see that this ends at bar 5. The drummer track will end at bar 5. Yep. Now, let's say I want to adjust the length for that region. I can do Command Control L to double that back out to bar 9.
9 bars, 1 bar.
And if I play this again so you can hear where it ends. All right, and you see it puts the fill in at the end there. So now let's say that we have this thing extending out to, say, another 4 bars, for example, right? We have some other information here, and we want this thing to go to, say, bar 13, because, you know, we have a section where instead of 8 bars, we might have a 12-bar verse or a 16-bar verse, right? So let's say we need to extend this to end at bar 13. Now, this really only works with drummer tracks, because if you try to extend a software instrument track or an audio track past their endpoint, instead of using the double command, you're just not, there's nothing for it to extend, you know, so that won't work. But with a drummer track, you can do something about that. So let's go up to bar 13.
2 bar, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 bars.
And if we do Command Shift right bracket, you'll see it extends the end of the region out to bar 13. So Control Home
1 bar.
tells us it starts at bar 1.
13 bars.
And Control N tells us it starts at bar 13. But I'm going to go back to bar 8 and play. You're going to see after bar 9, there's nothing there on the
12
track.
bar, 11, 10, 9, 8 bars.
And silence, right? So while it's convenient and easy to extend the end of your drummer tracks that way, you still need to refresh the drummer track. Command Shift / will refresh your drummer track. This key command saves you from having to go into the session player editor and hit the refresh button. It's just a key command that does what that refresh button in the session player editor does. So now if I play this from bar 8, I have performances leading all the way out to bar 13 now. So that is the advantage of doing that. So this really saves you the hassle of having to go into the track contents area and then interact with the drummer region and then interact with the left or right border handles and adjust the left and right border handles. You can use Command Shift right bracket to set your endpoint for your drummer region, and then use Command Shift / to refresh it so that you have performance data that fills in the empty part of the drummer region. But as I was saying earlier, you can't really extend a audio or MIDI track past their endpoint. You're just going to have blank stuff, just like you do on a drummer track by default. The difference is on a drummer track, you can then refresh that drummer track to fill in the missing information. So as you know, I personally don't subscribe to taking a long way around to doing things. I like to be efficient. And speaking of subscribed, if you haven't yet, please visit logic.band, subscribe to a mailing list, and let me send you a free Getting Started with Logic course. And also like and subscribe here on YouTube as well. Now, let's do a quick recap. We can trim the start or end of a region with Command Shift left bracket and Command Shift right bracket. You may have heard me mention just Command left bracket and Command right bracket in the past. That still will generally work fine in audio tracks and session player tracks, but you can run into some issue on software instrument tracks with Command left and right brackets. So Command Shift left and right bracket seems to be a little bit more seamless and works on all your different track types. Then if you want to move a region, you can use the semicolon key. So once you have the region selected, you put the playhead where you want that region, and you can use semicolon to move that region to the new position. If you want to double the length of your region, you can use Command Control L, or you can use Command R. So instead of copying and then pasting, you can use Command Control L to double a region, or if you want to keep them as separate regions instead of just having one long region, you can use Command R to repeat the region. And then lastly, when it comes to a session player track, you can use Command Shift left or right bracket to set your start and end point. So in the case of where you have an 8-bar region, but you need it to be 12 bars or 16 bars long, you can move past the endpoint. So in this case, we had a region that went from bar 1 to bar 9. And then we wanted it to say end at bar 13. So I moved over to bar 13 to Command Shift right bracket. That extended the region to end at bar 13, but it left it blank. At that point, we did Command Shift slash to fill in some performance data for the session player in the blank part of the region. Now, as I said, session player tracks are dynamic. So doing that, it took away the big fill that was leading into bar 9 and put it at bar 13, but there's still a little bit of fill sometimes going into that new section. It just depends on what your fill amount and fill complexity is set to, how many fills and where it's going to put the fills in, but there's always going to be a fill at the end of the region. So if you got any questions about working with regions and making them more efficient, feel free to leave a comment below. And if you sign up to the Logic Band mailing list, in addition to the free Getting Started with Logic course, you will also receive a mini course on working with regions that will get you up to speed with all the basics you need to know to become a keyboard ninja and a Logic Pro when it comes to editing. As always, until next time, happy recording.